To address this subject, but Kevin and I are like-minded, but if he gave his hard-earned money to an ancestry website to determine he and I are related, he should ask for his money back. Thank you to all the candidates who honored us by expressing a desire to be part of the Bears. Thank you to the search committee, Ryan, Kevin, Jeff King, Matt Feinstein, Ted Cruz, Liz Geist, for their thoroughness, their dedication, their sense of teamwork. Thank you to Kevin for his guidance, to Ryan for his leadership. He put together a thorough process. He kept us on point. He told us what he wanted the process to yield. And he was a calm presence throughout the process. And he had a great process and a great result. Thank you to Jessica and Ben and their family for deciding to come to Chicago and being part of the Bears family. And thank you to Bears fans for their patience. It doesn't always happen that the most popular choice is the best choice. But I think in this case, we have that result. And I thought I saw a hub earlier here, the Helen Thomas of the Bears beat. How about Bigsy?
Bigsy.
Biggs, where's Biggs?
Actually, I'm second.
All right, who's next? Cheryl?
Cheryl.
Actually, I'm before Bigsy.
Beg your pardon.
That was nice of you, actually.
What was your thoughts about Ben when you first heard about him? Of course, you saw him as an offensive coordinator, but what was specifically that you liked about him and the hire that you guys got?
He wanted to be here. He has a passion for this team and for the city. You heard him express how he took his family here on trips. His directness, his dedication, his innovation, his energy, his decisiveness. We liked everything about him.
George, you've been through a number of these since you took over as chairman. What was different about this hiring process to find the head coach?
I think every time you go through the process, you learn something. Ryan had the benefit of having gone through this process before and took those experiences, did his homework. So before we even started formal interviews, he had thoroughly vetted all of his candidates, had established what he was looking for, and he was great throughout the process.
George, during the Zoom interview with Ben, was there a moment or something that he said that particularly resonated with you that when you got up from that call you felt strongly about?
The first words out of his mouth were, "I want this job." The last thing he said before we turned off the camera was, "Did I tell you that I want this job?" I was especially struck, and he referenced it in his comments, that this is the toughest division in football, and he wants to be here. He wants to go up against Campbell, LaFleur, and O'Connell, and wants to succeed in the toughest environment possible. I was very impressed by that.
What was Monday? Oh,
George, in the past year, you got the quarterback that everybody wanted, and you got the coach that everybody else wanted. Does this feel like a big moment for you and the Chicago Bears?
Well, now all we have to do is what everybody wants, and that's win.
George, what was your Monday like? And can you walk us through just, you've got an offer out, you're waiting to hear back, all that sort of stuff?
The last 2 days have been a bit of a blur, actually. Ryan put us through our paces, but he had a good process. I think he told you when we started that we would proceed with a sense of urgency, but we wouldn't be rushed. But he also talked to us about being ready to pounce when necessary, and that's exactly what he did.
When the Lions lost, what went through your head?
I felt bad for them because, as Ben referenced, I have nothing but respect and admiration for Sheila Ford-Ham and her family, the executive team at the Lions, great coaching staff, great group of players, and long-suffering fans. And speaking as a fan myself, I was rooting for him to go all the way.
George, what does it mean to you when you see Cole and Caleb and DJ and Rome? They were in attendance today. Those are some of the leaders of this team. What excited to see that, I'm sure, to see those guys show up today?
Always great to see them, and especially grateful to them for their support of Coach Johnson.
George,
There's a little bit of a follow-up to what Courtney was asking. Did you, from ownership's perspective, did you do anything discernibly different in this interview process, whether it was resources or allowing things to be different? Did it have to be that way?
I think in this situation, the best we can do and the best I can do is listen, offer support, guidance, the benefit of our experience when called upon, and to offer support. Ryan says, this is the guy we want, and I said, go get him.
George, we all know the bottom line is winning, and you've been through these days before. Do you feel closer to that with the pieces that are in place and now with Ben Johnson as head coach than you have the last few times we've stood here on days like this?
We do. We think so. We hope so. And now we just got to go out in the field and prove it.
George, when the Lions came here and obviously played there on Thanksgiving, 2 pretty big games, were you focused in on Ben Johnson knowing that he was going to be a top candidate?
I wouldn't say focused in. I mean, certainly aware of his accomplishments and the way he went about his business, but it wasn't like we were zeroed in on him. We hadn't even started the formal interview process at that point.
So when he runs stumble bum, you weren't like, that was an interview?
It fooled me. I was like, hey, the quarterback's on the ground. I didn't see the running back take a dive. So.
George,
And my son, Connor, said, hey, that's a trick. You know, so.
From
Go
your
ahead.
perch, what does ready to pounce look like and entail as it relates to this specific situation?
Well, the NFL has rules in place now to, I think, slow down the process, and there was some of that. The windows that are open for various candidates, Matt Feinstein did a great job of keeping us up on what the rules were at any particular time in the process. But having gone through the process and having interviewed an extensive field of candidates, when Ben was clearly number one, and Ryan said, we need to go get him, you know, you got to be ready to move.
Knowing there was competition, I imagine that brings a different level of urgency and aggressiveness in that moment.
Yeah, so that's part of it. It's a competitive environment, so you want to take your time, you want to be thorough, you want to cover every base, but also you need to be ready to move when necessary.
George, to that end, the Bears aren't usually this aggressive in getting a candidate like him. And frankly,
Thank you.
They really haven't gotten a candidate as heralded as Ben Johnson, or a guy who likely commands an over-the-top salary like he does. Why was this different? Why at this point in time did you feel the need to be that aggressive as an organization to get the best guy and pay him and then get what the Bears, what do you feel like the Bears needed?
Well, I don't agree with the premise of the question, but our job, as I said, is to offer support, guidance when necessary, resources when necessary. And once Ryan identified Ben as the guy, we needed to do what it took to get him to Chicago.
Among the head coaches that you have hired, how does Ben Johnson stand out to you as different among the other head coaches you hired?
They all have their qualities, you know. They all want to win, of course. They have different ways of wanting to go about it. I don't really look at it in terms of, you know, any sort of ranking or anything like that.
What did you think of the part owner of the Raiders calling the Lions game the other night?
What's that?
What do you think of the part owner of the Raiders being on the announce for the game the other night?
Brady.
Tom Brady.
I don't care who they put on. When Joe Buck's on, I turn the sound down.
Was your mom able to meet him?
Not yet. Not yet.
We got 2 more over here, George.
George, you guys had Eddie George in on Sunday, and fair or not, the perception was, okay, the Bears have satisfied the Rooney Rule, they can go hire their coach. Does the league need to take a look at the rule just to alter the perception of those interviews when they take place like that?
Well, as Kevin said, they're tweaking the rule every year. You saw more restrictive windows this year, as I said, trying to slow down the process generally, not just in terms of diversity. But I served on the diversity committee and yielded to Kevin for him to serve on the diversity committee. So we're well versed in these topics. We had a great conversation with Eddie. I think he's happy that he did it. I know we're happy that we did it.
One, Jason, right here to you.
Yeah.
George, what was the philosophy behind interviewing such an extensive field of candidates, and what did you guys get from it?
Well, Ryan said we were going to cast a wide net, so we wanted different backgrounds, different skill sets coming to the table. And again, I'm just very impressed with the process that Ryan laid out his field of candidates, how thorough he was, how specific he was in communicating to us the traits that we were looking for to bring winning football back to Chicago.